Welcome back to Easy English Talk podcast.
Imagine this. You want to learn something new, improve your mind, and feel calmer. But you have only 15 minutes a day. What if I told you that one simple habit could do all of that? Welcome to Easy English Talk podcast. I'm Ryan, and with me is Priya. Today we are discussing the power of reading every day.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here with you again. Ryan, I think many people understand that reading is good, but they don't realize how powerful it really is. Even just a few pages each day can change your life in ways most people never expect.
Exactly. And here's what we want to help you understand today. We're going to explore why reading daily matters so much for your brain, your emotions, and your future. And more importantly, we'll share practical ways to actually make reading a real habit, not just a nice idea.
That's the key point. It's not about reading for hours or finishing huge books. It's about consistency. It's about showing up every single day, even for 10 or 15 minutes. That small action builds something much bigger over time.
So let's start with the real problem first. Most people know reading is valuable, but they still don't read regularly. Why does this happen? What stops people from building this habit?
I think the biggest reason is that modern life feels incredibly busy. People wake up, check their phones, go to work, come home tired, and then just want to relax. Reading feels like one more task on a long list of things they should be doing.
Right. And when people think about reading, they often imagine sitting down with a thick book for an hour or two. That feels impossible when you barely have time to eat dinner in peace. So they just skip it completely and think, maybe someday when I have more time.
But that someday never comes, does it? Life doesn't suddenly become less busy. If anything, it gets busier as we get older. So waiting for the perfect moment means never starting at all.
Another problem is that many people had bad experiences with reading in school. They were forced to read boring textbooks or books they didn't care about. So now, as adults, they associate reading with work, not pleasure or growth.
That's such an important point, Ryan. When reading feels like an obligation, it loses all its joy and power. People forget that they can choose what to read based on their own interests and curiosity.
And then there's the distraction problem. We live in a world filled with notifications, videos, social media, and endless entertainment. Reading requires focus, and focus has become a rare skill nowadays.
Absolutely. Our brains have been trained to expect quick rewards. A funny video gives you a laugh in 10 seconds. A news headline grabs your attention instantly. But reading a book? That's slow. It requires patience and attention, which many people have lost.
So when someone sits down to read, their mind starts wandering after 2 minutes. They check their phone, they think about work, they get distracted by sounds around them, and then they give up and think, I guess I'm just not a reader.
But that's not true. Anyone can become a reader. The problem isn't that they can't read. The problem is that they haven't built the habit yet, and they haven't learned how to protect their focus in a world designed to steal it.
There's also another issue. Some people think reading is only for smart people or academics. They feel like they're not educated enough or intelligent enough to enjoy books. This belief stops them before they even try.
That's really sad, because reading is for everyone. You don't need a university degree to enjoy a good story or learn something new from a book. In fact, reading is one of the best ways to educate yourself, no matter where you start.
And one more issue. People don't see immediate results. If you go to the gym once, you feel a little stronger. If you eat healthy for a day, you feel a bit better. But if you read for 15 minutes, you don't feel smarter right away.
Exactly. The benefits of reading are quiet and gradual. You don't notice them after one day or even 1 week. But after a month, 3 months, or a year, the change in your thinking and understanding is huge.
So those are the main reasons people struggle. They're busy, distracted, they had bad school experiences, they think it's not for them, and they don't see quick results. Now that we understand the problem, let's talk about why reading every day is actually so powerful. What happens when someone makes reading a real habit?
Let's start with the most obvious benefit. Reading makes you smarter. And I don't mean smarter in an arrogant way. I mean it expands your knowledge about the world. Every book you read teaches you something new, whether it's about history, science, people, or ideas.
And the beautiful thing is, that knowledge builds on itself. When you read regularly, you start connecting ideas from different books. You see patterns, you understand things more deeply. Your thinking becomes richer and more complex.
Exactly. Let me give you an example. If you read a book about psychology, you start understanding why people behave the way they do. Then, if you read a book about history, you see how those same patterns played out in the past.
And suddenly, you're not just reading isolated facts. You're building a mental library of ideas that help you understand almost everything better. That's real intelligence. That's wisdom.
Another powerful benefit is that reading improves your focus and concentration. Remember we talked about how distracted people are nowadays? Well, reading is like exercise for your attention. It trains your brain to stay focused on one thing.
And that skill transfers to everything else in your life. If you can focus while reading for 20 minutes, you can focus better at work, in conversations, and when solving problems. Focus is becoming a superpower in a distracted world.
It really is. And here's something many people don't realize. Reading also reduces stress and helps you relax. When you read, your mind shifts away from your daily worries and enters a different world or set of ideas.
I've experienced this myself. After a stressful day, I'll pick up a book, and within minutes, I feel calmer. It's like meditation, but easier for some people because you have something to focus on. Your breathing slows down, your mind stops racing. You're just present with the words on the page.
Studies actually show that reading can lower your heart rate and reduce tension in your muscles. Just 6 minutes of reading can reduce stress levels by more than 60%. That's more effective than listening to music or drinking tea, which people usually do to relax.
Wow, that's incredible. So reading isn't just good for your mind, it's good for your body too. Now, let's talk about vocabulary and communication. When you read regularly, you naturally learn new words and better ways to express your thoughts.
This is especially important for people learning English or trying to improve their language skills. Reading exposes you to correct grammar, sentence structures, and a wide range of vocabulary. You absorb these things naturally without having to memorize lists or study textbooks.
And it's not just about fancy words, it's about clarity. Good writers teach you how to express complex ideas in simple ways. When you read quality writing, you start writing and speaking more clearly yourself.
Absolutely. And this helps you in every part of life. At work, you can write better emails. In conversations, you can explain your ideas more effectively. Even in your own thinking, you can organize your thoughts with more clarity.
Another benefit that people don't talk about enough is empathy. When you read fiction, you enter the mind of characters who are different from you. You experience their emotions, their struggles, their perspectives.
This is so powerful, Ryan. You're essentially practicing understanding other people. You learn that people have different backgrounds, different reasons for their actions, different ways of seeing the world. This makes you more compassionate and less judgmental in real life.
And even if you read nonfiction, you're still gaining perspective. You learn about cultures, historical events, scientific discoveries, and ideas that challenge your own beliefs. This opens your mind and makes you more thoughtful and understanding.
Reading also gives you better critical thinking skills. When you read, you're constantly processing information, questioning ideas, and forming opinions. You're not just consuming content passively, like when you watch TV or scroll through social media.
Right. You have to actively engage with what you're reading. Does this argument make sense? Do I agree with this author? What's the evidence for this claim? This trains your brain to think more carefully and logically about everything.
And in today's world where misinformation spreads so quickly, critical thinking is essential. Reading helps you become someone who doesn't just believe everything they hear. You learn to analyze, question, and think for yourself.
Now let's talk about something practical. Reading can actually help your career and your success. Many of the most successful people in the world are obsessive readers. They read to learn from others, to stay ahead in their field, and to keep growing.
That's true. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, reads for hours every single day. Bill Gates reads about 50 books a year. Oprah Winfrey says reading gave her the ability to dream bigger. These aren't coincidences. Reading gives you knowledge and ideas that create opportunities.
And you don't have to be a CEO to benefit from this. If you work in any field, reading about your industry keeps you informed and relevant. Reading about leadership, communication, or creativity makes you more valuable at work.
Plus, reading gives you interesting things to talk about. When you read widely, you have stories, ideas, and knowledge to share in conversations. People find you more interesting and engaging, which helps in both personal and professional relationships.
Another powerful benefit is that reading helps you understand yourself better. When you read about psychology, philosophy, or even just good stories, you start reflecting on your own life. You ask yourself deeper questions. You gain clarity about who you are and what matters to you.
I think this is one of the most beautiful parts of reading. It's like having a conversation with wise people across time and space. They share their insights, and you apply them to your own journey.
And finally, reading can bring you real joy and pleasure. A great story can make you laugh, cry, or feel inspired. A fascinating nonfiction book can fill you with wonder and curiosity about the world.
This is why we need to remember that reading shouldn't feel like homework. Yes, it's productive and beneficial, but it should also be something you look forward to. It's one of life's simple pleasures that costs almost nothing, but gives so much.
Okay, so we've talked about all these incredible benefits, but now comes the important part. How do you actually build the habit of reading every day? Because knowing something is good and actually doing it are two very different things.
Let's start with the most important rule. Start small. Don't try to read for an hour every day if you're not used to reading at all. Start with just 10 or 15 minutes. That's totally manageable for anyone.
I love this advice. People fail because they set huge goals that feel overwhelming. But if you tell yourself, I'll read for just 10 minutes before bed, that feels easy. And once you start, you often read longer because you get into it.
Exactly. The goal in the beginning is not to finish books quickly. The goal is to show up every single day and build the habit. Consistency matters more than quantity, especially when you're just starting out.
The next tip is to choose books you actually care about. Don't read something because you think you should or because it's on some important books list. Read what interests you, what excites your curiosity, what you genuinely want to know more about.
This is so important. If you force yourself to read boring books, you'll quit. But if you read something that fascinates you, reading becomes fun instead of a chore. And there are books about literally everything. Whatever you're interested in, there's a book for it.
And you don't have to be afraid to stop reading a book if you're not enjoying it. Some people think they have to finish every book they start, but that's not true. Life's too short to read books you don't like. Just move on to something better.
Great point. Now, let's talk about timing. The best way to build any habit is to attach it to something you already do every day. This is called habit stacking, and it works really well for reading.
For example, you could read every morning right after you drink your coffee. Or you could read for 15 minutes before bed as part of your night routine. Or maybe you read during your lunch break at work.
The key is to pick a specific time and stick to it. Your brain starts associating that time with reading, and eventually it becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it or motivate yourself. You just do it because it's part of your routine.
Another helpful strategy is to always have a book with you or nearby. Keep one on your bedside table, carry one in your bag, or have an ebook on your phone. When you have a few free minutes, you can read instead of scrolling through social media.
And speaking of phones, this is important. Remove distractions when you read. Put your phone in another room or turn it on silent mode. If notifications keep popping up, you won't be able to focus and enjoy your reading.
Create a reading environment that helps you focus. Find a comfortable, quiet spot. Maybe light a candle or make some tea. Make reading feel like a special, peaceful time that you look forward to.
Some people also find it helpful to set small goals, like reading one book per month. This gives you something to work toward without being too stressful. And when you finish a book, you feel accomplished, which motivates you to keep going.
You can also join a book club or find a reading buddy. When you talk about books with others, it makes reading more social and fun. Plus, you're more likely to stick with the habit if someone else is doing it with you.
And here's a tip that helped me. Keep a reading list. Whenever you hear about an interesting book, write it down. Then when you finish one book, you already know what to read next. You never have that lost feeling of not knowing what to pick up.
That's smart. Another thing to remember is that audiobooks count too. If you have a long commute or you like listening while you exercise or do chores, audiobooks are perfect. You're still getting all the benefits of reading, just in a different format.
Absolutely. The format doesn't matter. What matters is that you're engaging with books regularly. Some people prefer physical books, some like ebooks, some prefer audiobooks. Use whatever works best for your lifestyle and preferences.
Now let's address something important. What if you try all this and you still struggle? What if you miss a day or a week? What if you feel like you're failing? First of all, that's completely normal. Don't be too hard on yourself.
Building a new habit takes time. Research says it can take anywhere from 3 weeks to several months. If you miss a day, just start again the next day. Don't give up completely just because you weren't perfect. Progress isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent over time.
And remember why you're doing this. You're not reading to impress anyone or to hit some arbitrary number. You're reading because it makes your life better. It makes you smarter, calmer, more understanding, and more interesting.
Keep reminding yourself of the benefits you're gaining. Maybe you notice that you're sleeping better because you read before bed instead of looking at your phone. Maybe you feel more confident in conversations because you're learning new things.
Celebrate those small wins. Notice the changes, even if they're subtle. That awareness will motivate you to keep going. And over time, reading will stop feeling like something you have to do. It'll become something you want to do.
Let me share something that might help you stay motivated. Think about where you'll be in 1 year if you read just 15 minutes every day. That's about 15 to 20 books, depending on how fast you read.
Imagine the knowledge you'll have. Imagine the new ideas you'll understand. Imagine how much your thinking will improve, how much your vocabulary will expand. Now, compare that to where you'll be in a year if you don't read at all. The difference is massive.
And it's not just about 1 year. This is a lifelong habit. If you start reading daily now and continue for the rest of your life, you'll read hundreds or even thousands of books. You'll become one of the most knowledgeable, thoughtful, and interesting people you know.
That's the real power of reading every day. It's not dramatic in the moment, but over time it transforms who you are. It shapes how you think, how you see the world, and how you live your life. Very few habits have that kind of long-term impact.
So if there's one message we want you to take away from this conversation, it's this. You don't need to read for hours. You don't need to finish 50 books this year. You just need to read a little bit every day and trust that it will change your life.
Start tonight. Pick up a book, any book that interests you. Read for 10 minutes before you go to sleep. Do the same thing tomorrow night and the night after that.
Before you know it, weeks will pass, then months, then years, and you'll look back and realize that this simple habit has given you so much. More knowledge, more peace, more clarity, more joy.
Reading every day is one of the best gifts you can give yourself. It costs almost nothing, it takes very little time, but the rewards are enormous. So take that first step today. Your future self will thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Easy English Talk podcast. We hope it gave you the motivation and the practical tools to make reading a real part of your life. If you found this helpful, we'd love for you to explore other episodes we've created for you.
We have conversations about building confidence, managing stress, improving communication, and so many other topics. Each episode is designed to help you grow and understand important life skills in simple, clear English. So feel free to check out what interests you most on our channel.
Until next time, take care of yourself, keep learning, and remember, small daily actions create big life changes. Happy reading, everyone. We'll talk to you again soon.